Well, good morning, and as you... You're toast. How many times have you heard that expression used when trying to say to somebody, you're finished? Toast seems to be on the agenda this morning in many respects. There is a storm on the way that, being familial, is going to meet another storm. And as a consequence, the weather is going to be very, very rocky. Here, in our home patch, it'll reach about 15 degrees today, which is quite warm. And it'll start off at 9, which is still higher than it's been for some time. So not a bad day in that respect, but very, very gusty winds. And there behind me, you can see the trees beginning to gently rock as the storm and the winds gather pace. Be careful when you go out there. On top of that, we can have the expectation, a good expectation, that it's going to pour with rain. That's just setting the scene for others who have become toast. And first of all is Prince Andrew. Pick up any paper, and if anybody is a fan of Piers Morgan, having listened to him, is that he has settled out of court with the young lady who has accused him of rape, of taking her either unwillingly or when she was beyond or not yet reached the age of consent. It's difficult for somebody like me to get upset too much at this upset, except that just everybody in the family has got involved. And that's most unlike Dallas. It is said that Charles insisted that Andrew fess up, whether he was guilty or not, because he didn't want the Queen's Jubilee year spoiled. And it is said that the Queen is going to chunk in a hefty amount of the estimated £10 million that it's going to cost Andrew to get out of this by paying an agreed fee of about £7 million and a further £3 to his legal team. It seems to me that that's far more unseemly than him going into the dock and, as he has always done, denied what he'd done. And the fact is that this mess gets worse and worse and worse because of a lack of judgment. And if it is true about the Queen, and I have no way of knowing other than what's reported in the newspapers, if it's true about the Queen, I'm surprised that she got dragged into this as well, because she is the head of state. Never mind about whether you think that royalty is finished, royalty is silly, royalty is wonderful, whatever you may think. She is the head of state in a constitutional monarchy. And I bang on about the fact that a constitutional monarchy is by far the best form of government anywhere in the world. It keeps us safe from a good many things. But the fact that the head of state has got dragged into this does not do much for her reputation either, and I feel bitterly sorry for that, because up until this mess that Andrew has got into, and perhaps he's not guilty, it will now never ever be proven or not proven. She has allowed herself to get involved, and that takes something off the luster that has surrounded our Queen and our constitutional monarchy. Oh, there are lots of people that will take me to task. It is no form of government at all. Well, it's every form of government. It's the best form of government we can have. And even the Greek philosophers, so many years ago, who were pretty sage about the democratic process, agree that that is so. And take a look at it. I'm not going to go through a constitutional monarchy anymore. I do a course on it here and there. It's a broad course, but I do a course on it. Perhaps if you find that on the internet, you can pay a few bob and come and listen to me. Nonetheless, I am a great supporter of that form of government, and therefore a solid leader. So it's very sad to see that happen. Now, a lot of people have said over the last little while, I can't see anything good in this monarchy lot. I can't see much good in the men of this family. They've behaved despicably in the past, and they'll behave despicably in the future. But one thing that we cannot say about them is that they are cowardly, and that all the males in the royal family have been distinguished soldiers. That if a soldier is the leader that you need, then indeed they have provided leaders, they have provided soldiers, they have provided people who have been at the front. And it's that sort of leadership perhaps we need at the moment, because it is astonishing and stunning the number of people that I bump into that sort of shaking their heads about what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, as if they're standing on the sidelines and saying, oh, well, let us see what he does. Let's see what he does, as if it's not going to affect us. And believe me, if war does break out in Ukraine, it will affect us all. Not, I think that rockets will come zooming over the United Kingdom, that we'll all have to race to shelters. But whatever happens in that area of Middle Eastern Europe, where Russia borders so many countries, could have devastating effects. I do not laugh at spies. I've known a couple, and actually they're spies because they think differently to the rest of us, and that means they think differently to politicians and to civil servants. They see things in a different way. They study things in a different way. And when the spies of the United States start saying publicly, as indeed they have through Joe Biden, that President Putin is making all sorts of soft noises at the moment, but he's ready to strike not only against the Ukraine, but against the Baltic states, Latvia and Lithuania and Estonia. But that he will continue on an empirical course, an empirical path, so that confrontation, if it doesn't take place when he invades Ukraine, but would actually involve confrontation with us and many other parts of the world. And that's where it gets very dangerous. There is suggestion that he will draw back, and may I go back to church and pray to God that he does, because we are facing a very, very sensitive and dangerous situation. And yet somehow were able to shrug that aside while gazing at a naughty boy in the royal family who has decided to settle out of court without, it says, impugning any guilt. But most people, including this morning's newspapers, are saying, aha, but he is guilty. That's why he backed off. And perhaps the truth will not be known for a long time to come. But we are so wonderful. We are so wonderful in making up our minds about things that the majority of the population have decided that he is. And therefore it is undermining our leadership. And undermining our leadership at a time when we need strong leaders. That scandal, if one can call it that scandal, and the ice cake in Westminster has shown a rottenness in the leadership that has not been totally evident before. Now, add to that Cressida Dick of Scotland Yard and all sorts of other people who are showing signs of weakness in other major areas of our civil governance. And we are facing something of a crisis. And yet, we have, in all the world, probably the staunchest leader of them all, in Her Majesty the Queen. Yeah, I know there are thousands and hundreds of thousands out there that say, oh, don't talk such nonsense. Well, it's not really nonsense, you know. It's not. She has been a figurehead for this country in all her reign since 1952. A figurehead to be admired and who has made pretty wise decisions and sage decisions. Never mind whether they're privileged or not. Thousands and thousands of people are privileged. Would that it was not so, but it is. So one accepts that and then looks for the best that we can find amongst the privileged, and I think we've got the best. We live in perilous times. We live in times of crisis at home. All sorts of crises. Energy, finance, inflation, you name it. There is something teetering on the brink wherever we look. And now we have arguably somebody who sees things in a rather different light to the rest of the world, in President Putin, ready to go. I am interested to see a number of people that I knew, Russians whom I knew as friends. There are a number who are appalled at what's happening. But you know, the higher you go up the echelon, the more people who were friends and remain friends are supporting their president. Are we the same in supporting our Queen? Well, I hope that we're the same in the fact that we give her that sort of support and don't weaken at the last minute. But I am surprised, since she and we have not waved the sabre, we have not threatened war. I'm rather surprised that anybody should look at our leadership and worry about its weaknesses, when in fact the weaker man, but the more dangerous, is poised at the border with Ukraine. Let's hope, as I invariably am, let's hope that I'm wrong. But if I'm right, we have to worry about what's going to happen in the next little while. That's it for the morning. Thank you very much for being with me. Let's have a look. Your toast.